What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Nerdthusiast Poker podcast. We got a special guest coming on here, and before I introduce them, or I'll let Brian introduce this time because I feel like I introduce every time. So, Brian, you're going to introduce.
You do. You just hog the limelight, bro. You don't even let me get a word in edgewise. I'm getting tired of it. I'm about to muscle you out.
All right. Well, let me do the ad read. So, first off,
All
we got to give a shout out to Slot Squad. Make sure that you're following them. Every night they're putting up awesome content, and you can follow them at twitch.tv/the Slot Squad, the #1 US iGaming streamers in the country. Check them out. And then also make sure you check out Spade Society on Club GG 788-597. You can jump in there with me and Brian and mess around and play some cash games, some tournaments, have a little fun with it, and check it out for yourself. That's Spade Society. And they're also on Instagram as well. All right, Brian, you take it over. Go ahead, sir.
Now that Anthony, or should I say, now that Hoagie's allowing me to actually speak, we got 4-time WPT champ Darren Elias with us today, high stakes crusher. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Anthony and I, we're Northeast guys. We've been following you for a long time since we kind of got into the game ourselves. So we're going to set the tone. You know, we know that your upbringings, from what we know, from an online grinder to now like a live poker legend, absolute crusher. So we just kind of want to start at the beginning. How did you get to where you are now? Like where did you kind of get your introduction to poker? Like where'd you start out at?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to be here, guys. My upbringing, my story, playing cards. I played a lot with my family, played with my grandmother. We used to always around the holidays or vacation, we get around the table. We didn't play Texas Hold'em, but we're playing, 5-card draw, playing hearts, playing spades, scat, all these like silly card games. So I always played those as a kid. And then when Moneymaker was making that main event run in 2003, I was a junior in high school, I think. And that's when we started playing Hold'em with the buddies. We play like $5 sit and goes or whatever. And I always liked it a little bit more than everyone else. I was more into it. I would be like, I'd have a notebook and I was like keeping records, tracking like $2 wins.
You were that guy. You were that guy. They're like, what the hell?
I was taking it a little more seriously. And then I started playing online, not for much money, but like deposit $25-$50 on online and start playing there. So that's how I got my start, I would say.
Dude, I'm seeing a trend of like the conversation of like crushers. It's always the grandmoms, dude. Like playing with the grandmoms, like growing up, or like that's where the intense battles start, I think.
Yeah. My nanny was a cutthroat. We used to call her nanny. She would snow me in 5-card draw. She's just standing pat. I was like 8 years old. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, she must have it. She must have had it for years until I think finally
like
called
tiddlywinks and pennies. Yeah, that's funny.
Now,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so when did you get into so you started playing some $5 games, but when did you get into the online scene?
Around then, I was about 16, 17, started playing online. And then when I went to college, I was 17, started playing more tournaments and $5, $10 tournaments. And then I banged one off freshman year for like 10 or 15,000, like a $10 rebuy. And that gave me the bankroll where I could start to play a little bigger, and started to play basically full-time online from my dorm room in college, and spun that 10,000 into hundreds of thousands, and kind of took off from there, playing online all the way through college. I did finish, but I was very much I probably played more volume of poker while I was in college than I have my whole career. Like that I was grinded.
What's that like?
Nice.
Banking 15K as a freshman in college. Like, what was that week like? The pizza on you in the dorm, or?
Oh, it was awesome. My roommates are sweating. It was like super late at night. We go down to the like lobby and buy everyone tacos. It was fun, man.
Now, where'd you go to college?
I went to a small school near LA in California called University of Redlands. I was into water polo. I really wanted to play water polo in college, and a lot of the best teams are in California. That's where a lot of the water polo culture is. A lot of the teams are. So I went out there to play. Played 2 years, and then when poker started getting serious, and I was going to like EPT Monte Carlo and stuff and missing practice, I quit. I think sometime sophomore junior year because poker was just too much.
Where did you
Yeah.
play water polo before college? Like, how did you get into that? Because that's something that's like obviously not everyone's into.
Yeah, it's random. I went to high school in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I guess because it's on a lake, we big on water sports. Like we had pool class in high school, and we had a water polo team, and we'd travel. But we were one of the. There's probably like 8 or 10 high schools in Pennsylvania that have a team when I was in school, and we were one of them.
Yeah, that's random, man. That you're the first water polo I think I've ever met. So
Yeah,
do you still?
yeah. I was always into swimming. I was a competitive swimmer since like 6 or 7, so I think it's kind of it was a good fit for a kid who could swim and like to throw a ball.
So you said you finished school.
Yeah.
Did you use any of your degree at all, or did you just say screw it? You just segued right into full-time poker. Like, was there a time where you were kind of like, I should probably go get a job, or were you just like locked in?
Yeah, I never considered like getting a job after college. I would say there was like an inflection point during college where I had ambitious. I wanted to work for NASA. I was a physics major. I was in all these difficult math courses like my freshman sophomore year, and at some point I was like, what am I going to do with this degree? Like I'm playing so much poker. I like it. I'm making more money than I would make looking at like a readout in NASA like all day. Like I kind of had this epiphany where I'm like, I don't really need to keep doing this work. So I changed my major to creative writing, which was a little easier. And I was able to kind of
Yeah,
work remotely.
we know those classes. We know those classes.
Yeah. And we went to Anthony and I both went to Stockton College down outside Atlantic City, and
Okay.
that degree was communications.
Yeah. My
Everybody
brother
who
was a communications guy.
Yeah, they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna major in communications, and you're like, what is that?
My parents were really adamant they wanted me to graduate, and I kind of like I was pot committed at that point where I didn't want to like quit halfway through, so I did want to graduate. So changed my major, kind of cruised the rest of the way, played full time, played a lot of I played a lot of live poker too in college. I was when I was 19, 20, I was going abroad, Australia, Europe, and then shooting down to Commerce, playing some cash games, going to Vegas. So I was playing quite a bit of poker in college.
I was gonna ask that about
Nice.
because I've actually never been into LA, seen out there, but I've read a lot, seen a lot. Commerce, is that 21 or is that 18 or what's the age limit out there?
Commerce is 21, I believe. It kind of depends on some of the Indian casinos were 18, some were 21. I was able to get around it in cash games. I would say for the most part, I had pretty good fake ID, and I would go to Commerce and just stay for like weeks until I was about to flunk out. I would be playing 10, 20, 20, 40 no limit. Yeah.
So, all right. So, what do you prefer? Do you prefer online or you prefer live? Like, what's your, you got a good taste of both, and you got some deep caches in both, from what I can see. I mean, like, what is? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I would say at this point in my career, I prefer live. I prefer seeing the people I'm playing against. I prefer not really the social aspect, but I like being at the table with people and you get more information. I would say it's a deeper, richer game live because there is more information. You get to see who you're playing against. You might have history with them. You might be trying to break down a stranger, what they look like, how they're going to play. Where online is a little more limited in the information. Where I think fundamentals and like strategy, like basic poker strategy, is more important online. As a young kid, when I was 20, 21, 22, I think I preferred playing online, but at this point, definitely live.
So I'll bring up some accomplishments here. I think you have the record, right, for 4 WPT titles.
Yes, sir.
You have the record for that. But I got to throw a little needle out there, and I did the same thing for Jonathan Little, right? I'm going to throw it out there. The bracelets, man,
When no business.
does that bother you or what?
I wouldn't say it bothers me. I mean, I'm sure it's about that time of the year where they put out best players without a bracelet articles. Where been seeing those for years. I wouldn't say it bothers me, but it's something like I have left to do in my career. Like I would like to win a bracelet. I go out there, I play 10, 15 events a summer, couple bigger ones where I have a decent shot at the bracelet, I think. So it's something that's on my radar. I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to keep trying.
Do you play any mixed games out there, or are you primarily just no limit, or what do you aim for?
I play most of the big no limit events, and then I like the game no limit single draw, deuce to seven.
Okay.
But that's probably the only mixed game I would say I'm like playing a lot or able to compete at a high level. I don't really enjoy the limit games.
Yeah.
I like games that are no limit. I think there's more creativity there, and I don't want to say I get bored, but I'm a little too young for the limit games right now. I think maybe if I'm like 50, I'll be
Yeah,
one day.
I got to throw a little bit of shade at Kelly. Yo, Aunt, how many bracelets you got, bro?
How many bracelets you guys got?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, one can dream, right?
I probably won a couple people
Yeah.
bracelets by just dumping my stack to them. So yeah, we probably helped a couple people get bracelets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for whatever reason, I've run pretty poorly. I've run really well at WPT and run poorly in the WSOP, where it's uncanny. Like thinking back, like you get these huge all ins with 10 left. I got kings versus aces, and I win in the WPT, and I win the tournament, and it goes the other way in the World Series. So you can't. It's not keeping me up at night, but it's just how it's been going.
All right. You want to talk a little bit about Keen, the evolving of like where he's at?
Yeah, so in the changing landscape of poker and how things are kind of evolving from when you first got into the scene after the moneymaker boom, what have you seen or what have you done in regards to like GTO and solvers and transitioning from like online, the higher stakes, live events, things like that? Um, GTO versus exploitative or whatever you're kind of focusing on now.
Yeah, I think if you're playing high stakes or you're trying to play at a high level where you're playing 25Ks plus, you kind of have to be working with software and studying a little bit just to understand how these spots should work in theory. That's the way I think of it. Like if I open up a program, I'm not like looking for the right answer. I want to see how it should work, how a computer plays against itself. And then from there, I try to extrapolate how do people actually play. Because if you're studying these solutions that don't depict how people are actually playing, it doesn't help you. And I think there's a lot of players that study and they take the answers too literally and they really don't apply it and they don't win where I think people, especially up and coming players or guys that are new to the game, I wouldn't get too in the trenches with the software or the solvers. I would go in your games, watch what's happening, and do what works for you. I think, especially at smaller stakes, like if you're playing 1, 2, 2, 5, throw all that stuff out the window. Where, for me, I'm in 100K. I'm playing a hand against Steven Chidwig. Like I need to know how that spot should work because he's playing a strategy similar to the solver. It's a studied spot. I don't want to be guessing on a sizing of how something should work in a $100,000 poker tournament. But for up and coming poker players, I would say hold off on that until you're playing higher stakes.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that there is a cutoff um, in the buy-in amount where you see a lot more people playing um, solver-based type poker? Like, is it 10,000, 5,000? Like, what do you consider to be like a high limit, like strictly solver type tournament?
Yeah, I don't know if it maybe. I mean, it depends on the tournament, obviously. Like if you play a 5K high roller at the Poker Go studio, there's a lot of like pros in there that are studying and trying. And if you play a 5K main event with 1,000 people, I mean, there's going to be guys in there that are studying and working hard, but it really depends who you're playing against. Because even in a high roller tournament, a 25K, a 50K, there's still some rogue players out there that are not playing by any kind of thing you can study. So you have to keep in mind who you're playing against and what they're doing. But yeah, I would say for up and coming players, do not get too hung up on the solvers and that stuff.
Yeah, I think the thing too with it is that like I've been diving a little bit more into it, but again, you kind of got to ask yourself like, who's this going to work against, right? So some of the stuff I see, and I'm like, this is not going to work. Like this, I don't care what I do here. This guy's going to call me all day, every day. He's been drinking all night. Like he's wasted. Like you got to know the player of who you're going against. Whereas, like you're saying, you're playing against high rollers, but this isn't Brigada on Friday night at 3 a.m. This is, like locked in players playing the GTO style. So I think knowing your players,
Yeah, the solver doesn't have like a Borgata mode where the guy flatted 8-2 suited, and like it doesn't have that. So you got to keep everything in perspective.
Not yet, right? So we'll have like a chat GBT. You'll be able to put into your system like what casino you're at, and it will adapt to the styles of the players there.
Yeah, it's the weekend. It's Friday at 8 p.m. We could be sitting on a gold mine.
All right, Ant, you want to touch on some of the followers' questions, the Twitter mailbag? Hit that up.
Yeah, we'll jump into the Twitter mailbag here. I had brought them up. Let's see here we got. So these are just some questions people had responded. So our buddy Frank, we know. Do you find yourself having to adjust more for some players trying to play back at you because of your success? So people that recognize you, do you feel like they're just, attacking you in certain spots? Do you have to feel like you have to adjust, like if they know you or if they don't know you?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the tournament, but like if it's like a smaller stakes tournament or like at Borgata or something, people usually go to one or the other extremes where either they're going to like fold too much, they don't want to play against me, or they're like, I'm gonna fucking go to war and try to punk you. So you get you get both of those, I would say, where people are probably better off in the middle playing kind of normal. But I definitely find some extremes where people will go out of their way sometimes to try to bluff me, or also like fold king jack in the big blind when I open. I don't want to play.
Pierre said, is there a difference from how you play in tourneys that are hour-long mains versus 30-minute one-day tourneys? Do you play any 30-minute one-day tourneys? I guess that's probably the first question.
I mean, those Poker Go Studio things, some of those are 30-minute levels, and you play down to the final table. So it's basically a one-day tournament. Not really. I would say you still have the same situations, your number of blinds, your position, that stuff doesn't change based on the blind levels. The only thing that will change in faster structured tournaments, you're going to be short stack quicker. But you certainly don't want to like press and think, oh, it's a turbo, I need to go all in more, or like shove hands that shouldn't be in the range. I wouldn't force it that way. I guess with longer tournaments, if you have an hour level main event, something like that, that does give you more time to like observe your opponents and maybe play a little more exploitative poker, just because you get to see more hands. That would be my tip there.
Another question: best advice to give to players struggling with deep runs that are second guessing their playing style?
Well, you really got to be confident to win poker tournaments. I would say second guessing yourself it's okay after the event. Like if you want to like evaluate your play, that's healthy. But during the actual event, you need to be confident that you're the best player in there and you're going to win. Like you really don't want to be second guessing yourself deep in a tournament. Like if you gave me two players of similar skill level, say one's a 90 out of 100 and he's second guessing himself, and one's a 85 out of 100, but he thinks he's the best player in the world, give me the 85 guy. The confidence can go a long way in poker tournaments.
Last question was sent directly to me and made sure that I asked you. This comes from, I think, a buddy of yours. We got Tom Wheaton asking, how did it feel knocking your friend out and business agent Tom Wheaton out of the bubble, the Regatta Winter Poker Open, when he could have easily cruised into the money?
Wow, Tom, it's like which time does he want to ask about that I knocked him out? I feel bad. The guy plays 4 poker tournaments a year. They always put him at my table, and he gets buzzsawed. Like, sorry, Tom. No, I didn't feel bad.
No friends in poker, man. No friends in poker.
Yeah, it's funny because Tom, he came on our podcast and he had explained to us that with business and family and things like that, he doesn't get to play as much as he would like every year. So that kind of segues into our next question, our next spot. Like, how do you balance family and poker? Like Anthony and I, we have family, careers, and it's often difficult for us to kind of find time to play. Like, what's your strategy? How do you work through that?
Yeah, that's honestly the biggest challenge for me, and it takes up a lot of my bandwidth in my brain, just trying to balance all these things. I would say I do it by binging poker and then not playing much when I'm home and with my family. So I'll go on a trip, play 5 or 6 poker tournaments, maybe 7, 10 days, and I'm 100% poker. I'm playing, I'm studying at night, I'm focused, I'm getting up, going to the gym. My goal, I'm like a athlete going to play a tournament. I'm just competing, and willing to kind of put the family on the back burner, back of my mind for that time. And then when I'm home, I'm trying to be present and be there for my kids, be there for my family. That works best for me. I think if you're half-assing it on a poker trip and then half-assing it at home, that doesn't really work for me. So I guess I'm kind of turning it on and turning it off, which it's a tough problem, I think, as a traveling live player to deal with. I mean, my kids are 8 and 4. I'm in one of those stretches now. I'm home for a month. I'm fresh off track practice here,
Oh,
Medford track and field, coaching my daughter. But it also, like, I really enjoy it because I'm excited to go play poker when I go, and I'm excited to come home and be with my family. So if you can balance it right, I think it can work.
yeah. I think me and Brian are kind of in the same boat. Obviously, not with all the big $1 million cashes, but like same thing. Like when we go, we binge, man. Like we just went to Turning Stone last month, and like we just try to hit everything we can for like 4 or 5 days and lock in. And I think that's the
Yeah.
best way to do it. I mean, if you're gonna have a family, you're gonna balance it. Like when you go, you just gotta hit everything you possibly can. And you know, the days of like partying, going to clubs for us are like pretty much over. So it's like when we go out somewhere, it's like, all right, we're there to grind, hit the gym, like you said, and maybe go to dinner, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, going out for me is dinner at 6, and I'm in bed by 8 or 9. That's big.
Yeah, so I mean, I bring this up a lot in the podcast to talk about, balancing, family and poker, and I've often found that, when I do get a chance to play, I'm also a little bit gun shy because, I know I probably won't be able to play for quite some time. So it definitely impacts the way that I play and can kind of screw with my focus and consistency. So, um, with that in mind, like, how do you maintain your focus and consistency, especially when like the results aren't necessarily going your way? If you're on a downswing, or you're playing well, but you're just kind of, the cards just aren't coming. You're getting hit by those low percentage, those two outers, those three outers, whatever, and you can't recover. You can't build that stack.
I think for me, I've always been pretty good at being objective when I'm like evaluating myself. So I mean, I'll play a tournament. I'll write down hands I'm not sure about. After the tournament, I'll go through. I'll look at them. Oh, how did I do? Did I misplay a bunch of hands? Could I have done better here? Could have done that? And I think remaining objective is huge. Where when you see guys go on downswings and start to spiral and play worse, usually at some point they kind of lose grip with reality of like how they're playing, or where they're running bad and where they're playing bad. And I don't know if it's experience or just being in the game so long, but I have a good feel for like when I'm running bad and when I'm making mistakes. And software does help with that too, where back in the day you weren't sure if you misplayed a hand 15 years ago, where you could ask 5 people and get 5 different answers, but nobody really knew. Now you could at least put a hand in a solver and get some kind of feedback that's objective and concrete. So not to say I wouldn't recommend that as like a path for most. Oh, I put this hand in the solver, I played, and it spits out if I did it right or wrong. But it does give some feedback, as well as asking other players. Or I mean, for me, most of the time I know pretty quickly when I made a mistake, and I don't need to ask. Like, it just, we're not going to play perfectly. I don't play perfect. I misplay a hand. Usually, I know immediately. Oh, I fucked that one up. But you got to remain confident. You have to understand that you're going to make some mistakes. You're not. No one's going to play perfect, and just pony up for the next one.
All right, so getting into like what you have on tap for the future, what are you chasing now? More titles, more bracelets, a legacy. Got the WSOP on the horizon. Like, what do you got? What do you got planned for the next couple months?
Yeah, I'm going to the World Series here in a couple weeks. Playing some 25Ks, I think the first week. They got a heads up, 6 max, 8 max, deuce to 7, no limit. So I'll be there about 2 weeks playing those. Come home for a couple weeks. Go back out there for the BetMGM ARIA Championship, the World Series main event. So I go there 2 weeks. I come home about 3 weeks, and then I go for the main event stretch there in July. That's the best way with the family to work it. But that's what's on my radar. Not looking too far past there yet, but 2 big trips to Vegas, playing high stakes tournaments. Would love a couple bracelets, couple titles. That's the plan.
I will also be out there for the ARIA Championship. I'm looking forward to that one. I've been playing the satellites and stuff online, so I know you probably see them on there as well. But they got like a ton of satellites, and every year since I've been out there, I think this will be my second time playing it, but I think it's like the third or fourth year, and every year it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, it's one of the best events of the summer. I think we'll send over 100 satellite players at least. 3 million guaranteed on a $3,500 tournament is sick. And if you're lucky enough to make day 3, you get to play in the Poker Go studio, which I think is the premier venue in poker.
Yeah, that was like a fanboy moment. Like I saw the Poker Go studio, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like this is like now you felt like, oh wow, seeing that. My question is
Yeah,
gonna
it
be
probably
like,
feels real.
if this thing keeps expanding the way it is, like Aria better make a plan to like expand their poker area, because I mean the last year was packed, so I can only imagine this year it's
Yeah.
gonna be more.
Yeah. I'm thinking over 1,000 players. So we'll say 3 million guarantee. We'll see what it gets to with online. Now that we've added PA into the network, I think we've already seen that the games are bigger, the tournaments are bigger, huge fields, and I think that helps too with the satellites feeding more players into this ARIA event. Now that PA is joined up with New Jersey.
Hold on, Ant. Tell Darren and the viewers how many of those 500 satellites you fired so far. How much you in for?
Wait, time out.
4 or 5.
I got 4 bullets in, but I did get a third place for 1,500. So I got 500 out. So we're down 500 right now. It's okay. It's okay.
They need to get the spin the wheel. I haven't seen that. I haven't been on there since the spin the wheel.
They do now. It's a $20 spin. They have $20. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll get in there. I'll be there no matter what, though.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about the online, BetMGM. They do a really, really good job of making it easy for the players to, segue into bigger buy-in events with a lot of their satellites. You already talked about it, the 500, but you can build it up from like a $5, $10, multi ladders to get into these events. But not to mention, they started the ability to buy in directly through the app instead of having to wait in the line when you actually go to the venue, like at the Borgata. And I feel like that has been just a total game changer since, really since they came back from COVID. Because I remember the inaugural event that they came back with, it was packed. And that line was like 2 or 3 hours long. Everyone was complaining about it on social media. Twitter was blowing up. And then quickly in response to that, they started the direct buy-ins. You literally show up, give them your player's card, your ID, they get you a tournament ticket, and you're seated. There's very little wait, which is really incredible. So outside of poker, any future goals you have? Business ventures, coaching, maybe writing a book, anything that you have on the horizon that you would like to accomplish that you haven't really had the opportunity to do yet?
I don't have too much going on, I would say, outside of poker and family at the moment. I play some golf as a hobby on the side. I'm terrible, but I enjoy it out there. I maybe one day I'd write a book. I mean, I do have that creative writing major hanging up somewhere. Probably not at this point in my life. I'm still so busy. Trying to compete at a high level in poker, be a good dad, be a good husband, like all that stuff. Too busy now, but maybe down the line I could see myself writing something. I would guess it wouldn't be poker related though. I was always leaned a little more towards fiction. So maybe one day I'll drop a novel on you guys.
Nice.
All right, so every time we have a guest on, I usually like to ask about the nerdy side of our guests.
Nah,
We
go
are
ahead. Go ahead.
Nerdthusiast.
Jump in.
We don't just do
What's a
poker. We
nerd
have
stuff?
other,
I don't know that.
I would say, little niche sections where we have a music podcast, we have a movie podcast. We're trying to reinvigorate our wrestling podcast. We have a video game podcast. But what we always want to know from our guests are like, what are your secret nerdy hobbies or obsessions that no one really knows about you, right? So, an example is we had Abby Merck on a few weeks back, and she told us that she had a rock collection growing up, rocks and gems, right? So it's like something that someone really wouldn't know about you that is specific to you. So what you got? Hit us with some.
I could go a lot of I could go a lot of ways with that. I'm a pretty big nerd. I would say just like I was obsessed with Star Wars.
Okay.
Like as a teenager and then even adult, where I've probably read 100 like side Star Wars novels, like know a ton about the universe. Not up to date with all the new stuff. I don't love all the new movies and stuff, but super into Star Wars. Getting my kids into it now. On May 4th, we were watching some of the old movies, little Empire Strikes Back with the kids. That was fun, but. I would say that I'm really into Star Wars lore.
I just did a Star Wars gender reveal for my upcoming baby, and then and then afterwards we had a poker game that night. Brian was there. We did a May the 4th be with you poker theme Star Wars edition. So we had costumes and all kinds of stuff.
Wow, where's my invite?
Dude, listen, I saw you're pretty local to me, so you can get this Star Wars invite next.
So something I always have to know, right? Because we know that maybe not so much now because you're older, you have a family, you have commitments, things like that. But we all came from some sort of degenerate upbringing. At the time when you were just getting into the scene, what would you consider to have been like your biggest bankroll vice? Like, what was the thing that like crushed your bankroll that kind of took away from poker, right?
I used to shoot dice like when I was young. I like to play craps, and I didn't really know any better. So when I was like 19, 18, I would win a poker tournament and I would put all the money on the dice table.
Wow.
And sit there and play. And I won it first, which I think was bad in the long run. And it took me a couple years. I mean, I was probably over it by the time I was 21. But I definitely had a stretch where we called it the dice tour. We would just, after the tournament, we'd bag our chips and then we'd play craps for 8 hours all night. Now I don't gamble at all, but definitely had a phase where I loved craps.
Nice.
So the final thing I want to cover, we've been following you for a long time. I've been a huge fan of yours. And right after, COVID, they had a big boom in crypto and NFTs and stuff like that. So I just had to throw this out there that Anthony and we got in at the ground floor with Theta Drop. WPT opened up this brand, and early on we were lucky enough to score a Darren Elias gold card, like the highest level you could get. And we wind up flipping it for like, I don't know, like $800. We were in it just to get a quick score out of it. So it was pretty cool. But one question I had was, how did that work out for you? Because I know it's kind of falling flat, like with the NFTs. But do you get any sort of like residuals? Like, can you talk about that, or is it like strictly confidential? Like, how did it work out for you?
I mean, I did. It was. I think I'm allowed to talk about it, but it was based on the volume of like buying and selling. So when those things were hot and people were flipping them or trading them like you guys were, we were making decent money. Or depending on how much people were buying your cards, what your card was worth, it depended a lot on that. At this point, I mean, I think I got one for 2 cents like a month ago. So it's. I think that market has dried up a little bit at this point.
All right. Well, let's just where can people follow you at? Where can they check you out at? Do you have any social medias you want to plug?
Yeah, Darren Elias on X, Old Money D on Instagram. That's all I got.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. Good luck. I'll be seeing you hopefully this summer and at the ARIA, and good luck on this summer, man. Hopefully you run it up.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Good
thanks,
luck
guys.
out
Nice to meet you. Good luck to you guys
Plus
too.
Anthony.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll cross paths.
Sounds good, man. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. You can check us out at nerdthusiastpoker.com or on YouTube. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.